So the film begins with James engrossed in his fun. He was driving recklessly when suddenly a huge truck pulled up in front of him. He fails to pay attention to the truck and has a serious accident. He was about to do so, but he took a drift and parked his car on the side. He was in a hurry and did not notice that a girl was also coming from the other side of the road. When he noticed, he would have collided with the girl, but he again stopped his car. He also quickly jumped back and barely managed to get out of the car, saved from collision with, but in the process of all this, all his belongings fell on the road. His suitcase breaks here, and all his belongings are scattered on the road. Because James knows it's all because of him, he immediately feels guilty and starts apologizing to the girl and picking up her belongings. Meanwhile, the girl's bus also arrives here and takes the girl like this. Seeing him collecting the goods, she leaves from there and leaves James, and I start regretting that this girl had to leave her town and go to a big city. But since he couldn't find a bus, he was now forced to go back to Silent Hill. Where she used to live, James realizes that everything bad that happened is his fault. He immediately thinks of correcting his mistakes, and this boy, he tells me that wherever you want to go, I will drop you. The girl hesitates, clearly not trusting him. James encourages. He promises that if she refuses, he will stand there until she is safe. She would not board any other bus. The girl knew that no bus would come here until the next day. That's why she agrees, even though she doesn't go. James quickly helps her pack her things, and they leave for Silent Hills. We start walking towards the lake, and then a strong wind starts blowing, and everything feels so good. It was becoming quite a romantic atmosphere, so it was becoming quite awkward for both of them. The girl, whose name is Mary, tells me that whenever someone goes to Silent Hill, whenever a new person arrives, similar winds start blowing in Silent Hill. It's as if Silent Hills itself is welcoming its new arrival. At this time, a strange attraction begins to develop between the two, and both of them become very confused. And when the tension of confusion increases, then the scene abruptly cuts to James sitting outside and the twist is that we find out that everything we saw was not true. All that was going on in James's mind as a story. James was drunk at that time. The phone was ringing again and again, but he was ignoring it every time, due to which his condition was very bad. It is much worse. When he tries to stand up, he falls on a staff member. As soon as the rest of the staff reads this notice, they call the security guards and take him here. Gets kicked out, and the security guards go out and throw him in the trash. Here his phone was constantly ringing, and the phone kept ringing until he picked it up. On the other hand, there was her psychologist who knew her condition very well. And she was angry at him because he wasn't doing anything about his condition. From here we come to know that he has some psychological issue and he is not getting himself treated. She reminds him that they have an appointment tomorrow, and he also warns him not to miss it. James barely responds, his voice sad and weak this time, from which it is clear that he is very broken from inside and is suffering a lot. Finally, he arrives home exhausted, and inside he finds a letter from Mary, in which Mary was telling him that something very wrong had happened to him and James is urgently needed. Without thinking twice, James decides to go to Silent Hill. It was raining heavily at the time, and he was driving under the influence of alcohol. Anything else could have happened, but at this time, only I was on his mind. I am the most important girl in his life. James can't stand anything happening to her, and he'll find her no matter what. Deep in thought, James eventually falls asleep while driving. When he wakes up, he finds his car parked near a public bathroom. Here, when he wakes up and looks at himself in the mirror, at first, I don't even recognize myself. He didn't look like the same James as before. There were many differences between that James and this James. This new man, Jens, had lighter under eyes, a longer beard. One could clearly tell from his appearance that he was depressed. At this point, he reads Mary's letter again and closes his eyes, crying. At this time, he was remembering all the memories of that time, the beautiful memories they made together in Silent Hill. Everyone told him to forget Mary and move on, but James still hasn't forgotten Mary. He still feels that Mary needs him. When James goes inside Silent Hill, he meets a girl named Angela. She asks Jem to help her carry a bag, and they start walking together. Angela was talking about today's weather, and James was listening to her. He interrupts her and asks, "Do you know where mine is? Have you seen Mary?" So here Angela warns her, "You'll never see him again." James was listening to all this in a dazed state. He was not paying attention to what the boy was saying. He was still lost somewhere in my memories. Remembering how terrifying this rain-soaked Silent Hill looked at this time. Says that when he and Mary moved here, Silent Hill was just as beautiful. Seeing that beauty, Mary promised him, "I thought they would live here together in peace for the rest of their lives." At this point, James remembers something strange. He remembers that Mary always kept things from him. She was afraid that James might find out something that would frighten him into abandoning Mary. James always reassured her that no matter how bad things get, he won't leave Mary, because Mary is loyal to him and he will not and cannot change his feelings for Mary. Thinking about this, he now starts going inside Silent Hills, that Silent Hills which was once lush green. It used to be beautiful, now the same city was deserted and lying in darkness. It felt scary, things were breaking here, garbage was scattered all over the streets. It seems that everyone has left this place years ago, and now this place is also not visible to any human being. Even though you don't want to, James keeps moving forward and he sees a warning board on which it is written, "There was danger ahead." But James ignores him and moves further inside the tank. He calls out there. I get no response here. Suddenly the sound of music comes from a nearby tunnel. Following the sound, James finds a radio near a corpse lying under a sheet. As he tries to catch her, strange noises begin to resonate, and the dead man himself is the one who hears them. Don't stray any further. There's a curse on this town. A curse, James. Phone rings again. At this time, James's phone suddenly rings again. It was a call from her psychologist, who was angry at her for missing her appointment. The time James tells his doctor that she's in Silent Hills, and something very bad is happening here. The doctor hadn't heard of such things, and she tells him to drop all the excuses and come back immediately. James hangs up in irritation. While looking around, he sees Roche from a shop. He goes inside this shop. As soon as he enters the shop, memories overwhelm him again. It was in this very restaurant that they both confessed their love for each other. Suddenly he hears a terrible scream, and that scream breaks his memory. James sees that the man who was just wooing him, he was asking us to leave, he has been burnt, and his body is rotting in a strange way. Before he could react to her gaze, another terror struck him from behind. A nasal sound is heard. He turns back and sees a scary creature there, whose hands and mouth were completely covered with skin, and this a monster, resembling a monster, suddenly attacks him. James tries to avoid her, and thus, a fight is shown between the monster and James. Now, because both the hands of that monster were tied inside the skin of his body, or let's say he didn't have both hands, that monster was unable to attack with its hands. He was attacking with strange insects that came out of his waist. James somehow manages to save himself, and in return, he attacks the same monster and finally kills it. After killing him, strange sounds are heard again from the same radio, the sound of the radio that had brought him here in the first place. These sounds were now becoming more and more frightening. The day was ending, and the noises here had increased. A strange sense of fear had settled in the atmosphere. When the night becomes completely dark, scary creatures start emerging from the ground. And these various creatures that looked like snakes and cockroaches suddenly appeared on James. They attack. James also runs inside the house and tries to close its glass door. Because of this, he finally escapes those scary little monsters by coming to this house. He notices that this is the same house he and Mary used to live in. Mary's voice is heard here, although James could see that someone was there. Even though he was not there, he was still following the house without any fear, following the sound. When he goes upstairs, he finds that a videotape is playing there and here, and there were also many videotapes kept. The date of this tape was June 2017. After watching this tape, his mind starts shaking. He hears it, his pain increases so much, is that he calls his psychiatrist and says, "Please do something. I can't bear the pain anymore. Just make it stop." The psychiatrist says that this fear can only stop when you accept that I am no more. But even at this time, he was adamant that Mary was alive, and he felt her presence. Before he could say anything further, his phone is switched off. The psychiatrist calls his number repeatedly, but due to the number being generated continuously, he also starts getting scared and immediately informs the police about James. Would tell about the location and condition of, and also tells her that James is in some danger. Here, as James moves further into the house, the Yates surround him again. He calls it his first visit to Silent Hills. The visit that all these people were wooing him for going on a pilgrimage. All those people had told him that love was complicated and this is more dangerous, and you should proceed with caution. After saying this, all those people, without saying anything, he started leaving the party that he and Mary had organized. James finds this all strange. When he asks Mary about these people, Mary tells him that they are all my family. After my dad's death, all these people supported me and took care of me. At this time, she also shows James a picture of her dad. Now the scene returns to the present, and we see a man named Eddie. He was calling James. James hears his voice and goes near him. The man was also in a very bad condition. He is very strange, and I ask James why he didn't get sick. James does not say anything and tells him that I have come here looking for my wife. The man looks at him and says, "Don't you know what happened here? There was a virus rain in this town. The dirty rainwater killed many people. Half of the few humans who survived became grotesque monsters, and due to the rain, some monsters started coming out from under the ground, and all of them, the things killed the remaining humans. And now there are no survivors left in Silent Hill." I couldn't believe what James was saying. As proof, the man even shows him the wounds on his body, which were just like someone had landed a sharp jab on him. James, frightened, starts to leave. And then he hears the voice of a girl named Laura. The girl was hiding inside a prison-like place and was afraid of everything. James wants to help her. He extends his hand to her and says, "Come here. I will not cause you any harm. I do not listen to this time." She steps back in fear, and at that moment, James hears someone's voice from behind. The sound was like someone making a mark on the ground with an iron. Turning around, he saw that it was a monster. A pyramid-shaped monster with an iron head. He had a large sword with which he tried to attack James, but James runs away to save himself. Hearing his running sound, all the monsters present here get attracted towards him. All these monsters are very scary. There are some monsters whose heads are separate from their bodies. Yes, some monsters look like humans from the inside, but they are like spiders. All of them want to attack James together, but James is unable to stop them. To escape, he hides in a place and looks out through a small hole. He had noticed that the pyramid monster was the most dangerous. He was now killing all the monsters he encountered. James now leaves here and tries to move on. But then he sees a mannequin there, a human figure, which he mistakes for me. He was about to grab her and make love to her, but she turned out to be a monster. To escape from this monster again, he hides inside a cupboard. And that pyramid monster starts attacking this cupboard as well. James was slightly injured in the attack. He started having a headache and fainted. When he woke up in the morning, he was somewhere else. He saw Angela here, who was getting angry at him at this time. She tells him, "I told you to run away from here. This place hides many secrets. If you start finding out about them, this place will become hell for you." James ignores her words and walks away. Moving on, he meets Laura again, the same girl who had a doll in her hand. The girl tells her that Mary gave her the doll. James asks him, "If you know Mary, tell me where she is." But the girl does nothing and runs away from there. Gent follows her, and the girl gives him a mistake. It takes us into the maze, and we disappear there. James was no longer able to escape from inside this table, from inside this maze. Again and again he was remembering Mary. Then suddenly here was a very lovely. He finds a girl with golden hair, named Maria. She tells James, "I can help you get out of here." Together they face the monsters and move towards the end with great difficulty. They finally reach the hospital, and James tells Maria, "It is said that Mary's family, that is, the people of her town, were very strange people. One day, they were secretly taking me inside a basement. I thought it was a cult group, and these people were about to perform some ritual, so I started following them and I hid. I kept seeing them in the present, here in the hospital. that girl in Mary's voice, she plays a recording through which she learns everything about Mary and Kurt. It is known, Mary was telling me that his cult name is Joshua. Upon hearing Joshua's name, James vividly remembers the entire dangerous ritual. At this time, before these people could talk about it, they encounter the local nurse who has died and come back to life. Say they've turned into zombies and they attack them. They escape and climb up an elevator. And here in the elevator, Maria is seriously injured. Despite this, she does not leave James, and she tells James, "I know why you are with me at this time, because I look like me." Here Maria tells James that if you don't find me, then promise me that you will take me away from this place. Do you remember my name? My name is Maria. From here James and she part ways, and James, he meets Laura again, who takes him to room 318. When he goes inside the room, a scary-looking monster appears before him. He attacks him and asks him in a scary tone, "Why have you come here?" This monster was so scary that James could not even breathe, and suddenly he regained consciousness. The scene was cut, and we were shown what was actually happening. It wasn't even real. All this was going on in James's mind, and James was in a psychiatric hospital at this time. As soon as he regains consciousness, his psychiatrist tells him that he has been undergoing treatment for months. You were deeply saddened by the death of your wife Mary, and you couldn't pull yourself out of it. That's why we had to give you this shock therapy. At this time, James closes his eyes, and through Vianne, we're shown that when Mary died, he was there, he remembers everything, he saw Mary die. When he wakes up to all these news, the psychiatrist tells him that Mary is dying. After that, your mind was so deeply affected that reality and dreams were not clearly visible in your mind. You had stopped making any difference, and now we have to take you out of that state, out of that bad condition. He closes his eyes again and sees Maria again, asking him, "Do you want to stay in this silent hill, or do you want to leave this lumium after cheating on me?" To get out of, have to go to real life. James closes his eyes for the last time, and this time, he also refuses to accept the fact that Mary is dead. He says that my wife is still alive and I will find her. He begs Maria to please wait here. Come find Mary with me. But she wasn't going to stop now. She starts leaving from here. James still doesn't come to his senses after seeing her go, and says that this Maria is part of my thoughts. While Mary is still alive, this time he has descended into a fiery place. There he sees Laura, as well as a monster resembling Mary. He looked very scary. James is not afraid of him, but rather of the monster's mouth. Catching him, he apologizes to him and says, "Forgive me, please." As he apologizes, the monster burns to ashes. After which James finds Mary's dead body here and puts it. Seeing her, he is reminded once again of the fact that Mary is dead. Here we also get to know the mystery of Mary's death. Actually, Mary Kahat is married to Dreams because he didn't like Mary and started giving her loam poison. Because of which Mary started falling ill. So much so that she came to a dying state, and then I told James, "Please, I can't bear this pain. You kill me." James killed her unwillingly because he could not bear to see Mary's pain. Suddenly, James goes back into his thoughts, and he thinks about me. He picks up the body, puts it in his car, and drives it into a river. After which the scene cuts, and we are shown the same scene which we saw at the beginning of the movie when James and Mary collided. It is then shown that instead of returning to Silent Hill, they are actually somewhere else. Others had gone, and so what actually happened here is a mystery. It is created, and with this mystery many more. The movie ends here with questions and